We've all seen our share of the modern adventure game that arguably became a major staple with the popularity of the Walking Dead series. As Dusk Falls follows that approach of adventure games meets with visual novels. It ditches some of the gameplay gimmicks of the adventure game genre, focusing on better pacing as opposed to puzzle elements that ultimately make for a very well thought out story, with crossroad choices that actually feel impactful more frequently. As Dusk Falls is a character-driven drama that weaves in multiple layers from different perspectives. The story follows two main families. The first family is the Walker family, consisting of Vince, his wife Michelle, their 6-year-old daughter Zoe, and Vince's father, Jim. The family is moving, making their way through Two Rocks, Arizona after an incident has left Vince jobless. On the other side of the story are the Holt brothers, consisting of Tyler the oldest, Dale the middle child, and Jay the moral compass of the three. The three brothers are in the middle of looking for a hideaway spot after completing a local heist. This is where they run into the Walker family, who is in the middle of trying to check into a motel for the night. As the evening unfolds, twists and turns unravel, revealing just how much more there is to both sides of the story, including how they're all connected. The story was paced well, focusing more on delivering story-changing decisions more frequently than the typical puzzle or information gathering sequence found in something like the Telltale games. As a result, I found the writing, pacing, and impact I had on the story to be a lot more satisfying and fulfilling to be a part of. The campaign is broken up into 2 books and further into chapters, totaling about 4 to 6 hours depending on how long it takes you to make those decisions. However, this is one of the few adventure games that truly changes depending on your choices, so going back and replaying chapters with different choices is very much recommended. As Dusk Falls plays out very much like the traditional adventure game, albeit it focuses more on story pacing and decisions than the usual gameplay loop of modern adventure games. What I mean by that is that you'll spend a lot less time looking for clues that'll unlock a new interaction or solving puzzles, and more time making decisions that mean the death of a character early on. It's a major shift in focusing on storytelling, and I'm all here for it. I played too many adventure games where the actual gameplay part of the story doesn't feel as well thought out and comes off as needless padding that ruins the pacing of the story. As Dusk Falls strives at its pacing, and I found myself consistently invested in the story, and despite maybe one suspension of disbelief moment, I had a blast. The drama constantly unfolds as the story switches from the past to the present, revealing details to the player that can affect their view of various characters. Throughout the story, you'll switch between control of Vince and Jay, who are constantly juggling decisions that can completely alter the story's outcome. At the end of every chapter, you'll be presented with a timeline of the events, marking where your decisions change the outcome of the story. Going back to changing these decisions and replaying chapters is incredibly easy as well. Now that's just playing solo, but As Dusk Falls invites you to play with your friends, either locally on the console or across various smartphone devices, where the room can vote on the decisions. It's a fun mechanic that's easy to set up and makes for a pretty unique playthrough of the story. In an especially saturated genre of games, that's truly appreciated. As Dusk Falls has a very unique art style that isn't going to be for everyone. Admittedly, it took me some time to get used to, but it did eventually grow on me. The world and environments are created in 3D, while the characters are made out of these drawn 2D portraits that are represented in a slideshow animation. It can be a bit jarring, but over time I found my brain slowly filling in the missing frames between the characters. I guess in a way it felt like a Dungeons & Dragons playthrough, having the visuals as a crutch for my imagination. However, if I did ever pause or screenshot the game, I found myself overanalyzing it and realizing, wow, this doesn't look as good as I thought it did, almost like revisiting a game you loved from your childhood after a long time. Luckily, because of the very basic graphic style, you won't really have to worry about performance for this title. Whether you're on Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, or a PC, you'll be able to run this just fine at varying resolutions. As Dusk Falls features some decent guitar tracks that feel like a cross between an indie rock band and something you'd hear on Sons of Anarchy. It's nothing amazing, but I think it plays the part it needs to for this story's setting. I was more impressed by the voice acting of the cast. I think everyone found a balance of not over-delivering lines to sound overly dramatic, but they also didn't phone it in either. Especially with Mallie Bamber, who plays a young Zoe, did a great job as a child actor. As Dusk Falls is one of the more memorable and enjoyable adventure games I've had the pleasure of experiencing in the last few years. While I love the rise of the genre since The Walking Dead, it's truly gotten saturated and at times stale feeling, but it's a game like As Dusk Falls that makes me remember how the genre can also be so impactful. The approach to both solo and party playing this game made it a much more enjoyable time and certainly added to its replayability, and I think it'll have a lot more people coming back for more.